Welcome back to my channel, Make a Change. Create your own life. In the last video, I spoke about the origin of twin flames. Today, we take a step further into one of the most intense and difficult stages of this journey, the dark night of the soul. But before we dive in, let me kindly remind you to help share these loving messages with the world. Please subscribe to my channel, share the videos with others, and feel free to leave your comments. Always check within yourself if these messages resonate with you. If they don't, simply let go and continue your path elsewhere. The dynamics of twin flames. Before we explore the dark night of the soul, we need to clarify something essential about the dynamics of twin flames. When two twin souls meet, they are, at their core, already one on a higher plane. But here, on the earthly level, their egos also meet, and that is where the challenge begins. The ego in feminine energy immediately recognizes the depth of the connection. It longs for closeness, for union, and for surrender. The ego in masculine energy usually reacts with distance, withdrawal, or even resistance. Not because it doesn't feel the love, quite the opposite, but because the intensity unconsciously reactivates old dangers. Wounds from past lives, stored in the soul field, are touched again. This creates the well-known retreats that are so painful for both sides. There are three main reasons for this. 1. The overwhelming depth of closeness. 2. The resurfacing of old wounds and karmic injuries. 3rd, and often the hardest, the unbearable mirror. The twin flame shows us exactly those shadow aspects we don't want to face. Instead of looking at them, the ego projects blame onto the other and withdraws. This projection is often the strongest motive for retreat. I leave because you are wrong. Instead of realizing, I run away from myself. Yet all of these reasons are part of the path. Both soul aspects, masculine and feminine, must learn to find balance within themselves. Only when the ego comes to rest can it become clear that the souls are already one, not only in the higher dimension, but also here on earth. The dark night of the soul, a spiritual heritage. At this point, the experience of the dark night of the soul begins. This phase is neither coincidence nor a modern invention. It has been part of spiritual traditions for centuries. Mystics across cultures have experienced and described it. When mystics speak of the dark night of the soul, they do not mean random pain or depression, but an ancient spiritual process. It is the state in which the usual supports of the ego collapse, the divine seems infinitely distant, and precisely there the possibility ripens to experience pure love. This path has often been described in 3 stages: purification, illumination, and finally union. Its roots reach far back. The mystic Pseudo-Dionysius in the 6th century spoke of the divine darkness into which Moses entered to encounter God beyond all words. Jesus also went through this night in his 40 days in the desert, facing temptation and inner emptiness, and in his words on the cross, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" This feeling of abandonment is part of the way, not a failure. The desert fathers of the 3rd and 4th centuries recognized this too. Anthony the Great and Evagrius Ponticus described it as times of dryness, of acedia, a spiritual emptiness, not as absence of God, but as the withdrawal of old supports so that space for true experience could arise. In the High Middle Ages, this motif appeared again. Meister Eckhart spoke of Gelassenheit, letting go of one's own will so that God may enter. In the cloud of unknowing, the truth was expressed clearly. God is encountered in the cloud, in the not knowing. Thomas Aquinas gave it a foundation. Grace does not abolish nature but perfects it, and love is a uniting force. Darkness, he taught, leads not into loss but into fulfillment through love. In the 16th century Spanish mysticism, this crystallized into what we call the dark night of the soul. Teresa of Avila spoke of the inner desert, where the soul learns to seek God for His own sake. John of the Cross, her companion, gave the concept its name. He distinguished two stages: the night of the senses, in which all inner and outer consolations are taken away; the night of the spirit, in which even the most intimate images of God must be surrendered. It feels like total abandonment. Yet John made it clear, at the end of this night the soul does not find darkness, but the light that knows no night. Other traditions also know this path. In Sufism, it is called fana, the dissolution of the ego's separateness. In Buddhism, it is experienced as the crises on the vipassana path, where the self-image breaks down so that compassion may arise. In Kabbalah, it is the withdrawal of the light, so that a deeper rebirth can happen. The quintessence is clear. The dark night is not a mistake, but a gateway to union. What feels like loss is in truth the cleansing of the blocks that prevented love. The dark night in the twin flame journey. If the dark night of the soul was already profound for mystics and saints, it becomes even more intense in the twin flame journey. Because here the ego does not only face its own mirror, it sees that mirror embodied in another person. Twin souls are, at their core, eternally connected. On the soul level, there is love, unity, purity. But when this connection unfolds on earth, two egos collide, each carrying old wounds, patterns, and fears from many lives. Suddenly, the beloved becomes the mirror of the very shadows one has not yet healed. This is where the drama begins. The masculine ego withdraws for the reasons already described. The feminine ego, however, feels in the same encounter the potential for ultimate happiness, for union and healing. The withdrawal of the partner, and with it the loss of what felt like destined bliss, throws the feminine ego straight into the dark night of the soul. Rejection, coldness, and distance from the beloved are experienced, while the heart simultaneously knows the sacred truth of the bond. The resulting powerlessness is almost impossible to describe. Wishes and longing fall into emptiness, leaving nothing but darkness, emptiness, depression, often accompanied by suicidal thoughts. But this collapses the threshold. When the ego is forced to release every desire and every demand, what remains is the naked soul, and with it, the possibility of transformation. Then, the quiet voice of the soul can be heard again. Like the phoenix from the ashes, from the deepest despair arises the realization. The connection to the divine was never lost. Separation was an illusion of the ego, while the bond of the souls exists beyond all outer circumstances. With this realization, transformation occurs. The heart opens anew, no longer demanding, but in unconditional love. One sees that the other is free to walk their own path, in their own time, with their own lessons. Love no longer demands, it carries, it holds, it forgives. Thus, the dark night of the soul becomes a key in the twin flame journey. It breaks the ego open until there is nothing left to defend. It reveals that true union does not depend on outer roles or masks, but is rooted in the divine bond. And it leads into unconditional love, the love that not only unites twin flames, but ultimately all with all. How to walk through the night with this awareness, trust in divine guidance grows. Subtle signs appear everywhere. The first step is turning inward. Instead of seeking confirmation or distraction outside, the dark night leads us deeper into our own soul. Meditations are powerful here, especially heart chakra meditations which reconnect us to the source of love within. Rituals can also support the process, not to push the darkness away, but to walk through it consciously. Lighting a candle, speaking an intention or prayer, these can serve as anchors, reminding us that even in the deepest shadow, light is always hidden. The Course in Miracles is especially helpful. It teaches us to see the world not through judgment, but through forgiveness. What I heal in myself, I heal for others as well. This shifts us from victimhood to self-responsibility and empowerment. And music can open doors where words fail. It can turn pain into vibration, reminding the soul, I am carried. For twin flames, the dark night is often unavoidable because one must let go. Yet this apparent loss becomes a gain when it makes us aware of our divine connection. Instead of feeding the illusion of separation with constant thought, talk, or struggle, we can begin to feel and manifest the truth of connection. The key is simple. Separation is illusion. Love and unity are truth. When we root ourselves in this awareness, the night begins to lift, and we realize the night was not the end, but a sacred passage, a threshold through which we had to walk in order to experience our own divinity more deeply. These themes touch deeply. The question remains, how can we bring these realizations into our daily lives and into the way we handle the sacred twin flame bond? That will be the focus of the next video. Until then, heartfelt greetings and namaste.